Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our CSCI 380 Work Programming and Interface Design. And this lab will be I would say, like before your project, we're going to cover will be the last part. Okay, and we're going to go through more about state and then the POPs. Okay, if you're asking how can we pass the some variables parameters to other function, other components, how can we do that? Also, we also talk about different hooks, right? So we will also give you more examples. And because we work on the multiple pages, okay, so if we have some, let's say, username, certain ID, session ID need to pass from like page one to page two, like from page A to page B, then how can we do that? So we'll carry more. So we'll learn more about the components communication techniques, and also how can we share those states using the lifting state up and then context API, something when I'm going to do. And also later when you want to like complete it, so we need to know the project structure or like give you some like best practice, like how can we combine it. Quick revision, because when we talk about React.js, because they're all components-based architecture, so we try to reuse all the components, right? That's why when we design for the project, you need to do that. And also declarative syntax, so make it easier to reason about your application. And later we cover more about the virtual DOM. How can we update and we render them more efficiently? And we talk about different hooks they did amount. So all this, okay. So kind of when we talk about this, so when we talk about components, so we try to build in the box, right? So that's what we're going to do. And we're always using those as state to manage those dynamic data within the components. Then how about the out of the component, or how can we pass those data from the parent to child components? So we're using the POPs, okay? And also, how can we handle, okay, the whole life cycle for the React.js like rendering? Okay, what kind of method involved? So those like hooks will be like into like different stages, okay, of the component's life cycle. That's what you need to know as a basic way to start your project. Okay, first part about UI. First, just a revision, we talk about the functional components. Pretty simple function, right? We return as a JSX. So you see the file format is a JSX. And also we have the class components. Okay, so we start from the ES6 classes. So we can create, maybe in the lecture part, we talk about ES6, or sometimes we say the ES6 plus. Okay, so it's like more like later features, more we are going to do. And so far as a basic one, we can declare the JSX equal JavaScript XML. Okay, so we can create constant, it's got element, and then we can assign a value. So we can create the element like this way. So for the HTML, so we have the element text. Okay, the text H1 had the biggest size. Okay, the largest one. So will be H1. Okay, so we have open and close. So here's a pretty straightforward to showing the JavaScript HTML. So in the JSX, okay. And when you're working on the previous labs or exercise, so you already, I assume most of you pretty familiar with the functional components. So we try to create a function given this function name, and then we'll like export it default and then this name, then we can import it. Okay, and most important, we will pass if we need to pass some parameters, okay, the pops, okay, so we can pass it and we can print out. So depends on the variable you are giving. So let's say if we are passing a welcome, okay, we're going to import it. If we're giving a name right here, so the post dot name, the name is referred to right here. So the your text name, so right here, so it will be the parameter you're going to use. So you need to match it for this one. Then you can pass some data to this pops. Okay, so here's the functional components we can do. And we talk about the pops, we need to remember it's a immutable data. So pass to the component, so we cannot change it. But for the stage, it's a mutable data. So we manage within the component. So you need to remember. So when for the stage, it's immutable, we can change it, and then pops we cannot change it. Okay. So right here, when we use state, we say can and set can. So this is the example we're using. And we also are using hooks that one of is like set can passing a value. Before I just let you try, most of the time we're using the arrow function. Later when I give you more about the related to JS6, say ES6 plus, then you will know more. Like it's an arrow function. We are not passing any parameter, so we have a set count. Okay, set count is like we get the count value plus one and then update the count. Okay, so that's how the use state using. Okay. So here's the way we use the state as a functional component. And of course, we do have the life cycle method. Okay, so when we talk about the life cycle, including mounting, updating, and unmounting. Okay, so actually will be three steps. Okay, first we try to mounting the component. So if we do have some component need to mount and run it in this stage, so we have the component did mount. If we need to update certain content, then we can execute the component did update. And then if we finish mounting, then we can component will unmount. So we can tell. So right here, before we move forward, I would like to show you one more thing right here. So here's the some examples about the life cycle. Okay, so we can create certain like constructor, create a stage, count, whatever. Okay, so this one is a class. If you remember, we can like kind of extend it as a component. So it doesn't matter of this part. But the most important one is that we can giving the function right here like component demand. Okay, should component update, we are more like get a snap before update. So right here we can giving more like status that we mount. So this one is like we say, okay, once we move this component. Okay, so we are going to execute certain things. Okay, maybe we need to reset it, and maybe we want to like cancel certain things. Then we can like put all these functions, your implement function under the inside the component with amount. Okay, if you have something, okay, like you want to mount it to the DOM, like when we start to execute, or sometimes when we need to fetch data. If you remember using the one example is called a component demand. Okay, so if we are able to fetch certain data, then we can execute in a component on demand. Later, when you try to extract, fetch the data from the server API, because in my previous example, I give you some source code, right? That's a JSON file. You want to get the list. Okay, if you didn't fetch in correct way, you realize that you always receive like not an empty return, okay, response. So you have no return. So it calls your content always empty now. So when you realize there's some problem that why my API server, because for the next lab we start to implement the API server, okay. You say, okay, my API server, I able to get the JSON file, but why my React code couldn't mount all those data? There's a reason. Okay, so you need to be careful. So here, like some example refer to, and you may need it or you may not need it. It really depends on your project. Okay, so just to let you know, we do have some certain to handle. So just be careful. And then we can have some event telling you, just like reminding you. So remember when we like handle and then edit the function. So this is how we create the function like inside the component. So when you create multiple functions, and then you can put it inside those like components demand, or like let's say component will amount. If you want to like write a function to clear all the variable. Okay, let's say I want to set count, and this count value like say back to 0, then you can do it this way. Okay, so this way. And that's part right here I want to let you know, because we will handle the list. Okay, and then we're going to most of the project I believe you're going to use it. So when we create a function, okay, have a list, and then we pass the props right here. So let's say this props have a numbers, okay. So dot numbers when we pass it, okay. And when you save it, we have the map, because that's what going to cover Okay, in the lecture part, actually cover about the map. So if you have no idea, then you can look at this example. So this is a number array, right? So assume it's a number array, and then when we're mapping, so we're getting all the numbers. Okay, so it's parameter of the numbers. For this number, because for the list, we need a key. Okay, so for the list is a UL. So it's a list. So the first tag is the UL and all the element, all the items in this list using the LI. Okay, so we need to have a tag UL to show it's a list. If we need the order list, then will be OL like this. Okay, OL, OL. And then we also using the LI. Okay, sometimes why we need to use the key? Let's say we have a list and then you let the user to click on it. And then once we click on it, you are able to let the user to redirect to another page. Okay, let's say that it, then maybe you need the key and then fetch from the API server. So that's why we going to add it. Or if you want to know which key the user just click. Okay, so then you need to edit. And because it's just a number, so we need to convert to a string, so to string function, and then pass the value. Okay, so here's the number. So here's the basic one we using map function. Okay, so we are really common using a lot. We talk about like mapping function, reduce function. Reduce function is the accumulator. We're adding all the values and then filter. Okay, we only select all those meet the conditioned numbers. Okay, then we can put. Let's say if you want to only showing the even number, you can use filter. Okay, so this one like in practical when you use those functions and try, I think it's the better way. Like instead of just like looking at it. Okay. And I believe maybe you need to have using like certain forms. Okay, later when we have API server, you need to create a user profile or later use a contact us page. So maybe when you create a function, here's the components way. So we need to save a value. Okay, for this one, just one value. If you have multiple, let's say username, password, email, okay, address, then you need to create more. Okay, or you can save as a JSON file, okay. And then we have the function handle the change. So we try to detect the event. So if we have an event occur, then we will have set value. So it match with the function event or target value. So when the user like input certain value, then we try to get the value. Okay, so once we press, and then when the user press the submit button, so we receive event, right? So we will give an alert. Well, here there's a called event prevent default. So if we have default, then we submit. But this one we just hold it. Okay, don't do it. So sometimes for testing you can keep it the event dot prevent default. Okay. And inside the form, when we have the on submit function, then we are calling this one the on handle submit. Okay, and then we can have a label and give a name, and then we give a input. So the type is test. Okay, so the value is like passing is a value right here. We're getting target values on change handle change. Okay, so it's an event. So this event, how can we obtain the value using the target dot value? So it's like going to match. Okay. And of course, we have the button submit. So once we detected like user click on the submit button, so we will pass the on submit function, submit. Okay. So we say, okay, what's the name was submitted? We try to send the values. This value is the your name, like just input. Okay. The event occur is like when you after you input, then you will set the value. Sometimes we're using event, sometimes like when they submit, you can assign value. The difference is if you're using the event, that means that just you can observe sometimes when you input, okay, when you hit the enter or like for real-time tracking, then you can sometimes if you pay attention, they will checking if you need to create username, okay, and username and they will tell you, okay, this username already token somebody or the name it. The reason why is they try to detect the event. So maybe if you just input 3 characters, then it will submit to the API server and then try to match it. So it will do in like kind of real-time tracking. Okay, so here's the purpose. But sometimes say, okay, I don't want to do in real time. When they click the submit button, then I will try to validate all the inputs. Yes, you can do that. So it really depends on your design. There are no like strict way. And Then when you're working together, we have the VX router, just like repeating what we did before. So just like we're using a VX router, just reminding you. And this one just about the router. Also, we can using the alias. That means we name it. Okay. And also we can add the navigation. Okay, navigation bar. So we need to like import the navigation tool from the VX. So just reminding you for those like stage management library. So we do have like certain popular library right here. You can like reduce or like context API Mobix. So all this can help us to manage the stage across our application. Okay. If you want just like using the npm install and then try to do it. And then we have more, we talk about the use state with the command hooks, right? So we're more like, for this one, we also have a use effect. If you remember, we have a use effect. Also, we have a use context. So the one of the example, we're going to like change a theme. I go try to give you, okay. So all these are just like come on reminding you what's the lifting state up. So we try to share the state between the components. Okay. And for the context API, so we can avoid the like the pop drilling or share global state. That's the purpose we're going to do. And I'm going to give you the example right here. Let's say we try to create a context. Let's say the context React create context. So here the function is from React. Then we can provide the context with the like the your queries like that was the provider, and then consume the context with the use this one, and then pass what's your context. Then you may be slightly confusing. So I already upload the code. You can take a look, and then you're welcome. Okay, you're welcome to try to apply and use it in your code. This one actually we are using for changing the theme color. So let's take a look on the source code. So we try to like setting the stage once the demo touch the theme, okay, using a theme, and then so try to change the navigation styles. Okay, so like this one is a ternary operator, so it's telling okay, it's the background. So it's demo or yes or no. Okay, true. Then we're going to like change to this kind of no. Then we are going to execute and the pattern like this way. And then of course we have the navigation link way and also the buttons. And we giving a buttons try to change it the mode. Okay, right here you say that mode. Yes, then I will change to light mode. If is the light mode, then we will change to the dark mode. So it's the way, so we can touch it. And also we try adding the post. So that's the one I gave you. Okay. And first we will look at the theme context because we talk about the context. So this one is pretty strict. For we going to create context, use context, and use stage, right? So you're pretty familiar with the using stage, and right now we just set default is a false way, the demo, and then we touch it. The theme context, we create the provider, if you remember the provider, and then giving the value, okay, the demo, okay, what's the touch theme, okay, what is the function, okay. So there's like we try to checking if you know the logic is like we passing the previous and then giving a not notation. So we try to inverse it. So it's pretty straightforward. And so what's the child inside? So we try to render the content or the child. So right here, this is how we create the context like for the theme. So you can like we can change it. So here's the idea. Okay. And there's one more I attach is the post function JSX. So I think some of you may need to use it, so or like prepare for it. So you can see we talk about use effect, so we can just like put a function. So like the component demand or like we'll remove all this like we can do in this way. So we can use the fetch function and get certain content. Then when we receive the result, then we save a JSON and then we pass it. Those the data, and maybe we can say it to the post, okay, and then set the loading is false. If you want to sometimes if you see the loaders right keep running, okay, so sometimes we can add in the a flag, okay, loading or set loading like true or false, or if we have the error set error like this, then we can control the contents we're going to display. So it's like if we have an error, what we're going to do, what kind of message. So if the loading is true, we say loading post. If it's error, then we say error. What's the error message? Okay. But once we change it to false, okay, then because it's false, then we are not returning this message. Okay. So it's called then because every time it's updating, so the component will be re-rendering. So we return, like once we pass this conditional check, and we will return all the contents. So here's one of the possible way. I gave you some example source code, and then you of course feel free to refer to it and then try to implement your React project. But once you really start to work on it, then you will realize, okay, more like complicated way to implement it, or like you can experience more like challenge, okay, how to attribute. But like hopefully in the previous lab, okay, you have a basic understanding, like the file location, how can we building multiple page, like for the like assignment tool, then you have some idea, okay, once you work together. And just giving some reminder when you really start your project. So remember, you need to organize the features or the components really by folders or like components. Okay, try to separate your UI or some like logic when possible. Okay, for when you design the UI. Okay, so maybe create a folder like there focus on the UI generation, or there's something for the logic control, okay? And try to make sure like how can you make those components reusable, okay? Maybe you need it, then you can just import it directly. Also giving a clear dynamic conversion, okay? Here sometimes give you some references. Okay, so feel free to using the GitHub. Okay, especially if you start your project, just like reminding you. Okay, so you can start to prepare for it. And later we do have more like advanced topic. If progress or sometime like in the lab, hopefully if we can cover, then we will talk about what's the server side rendering, if you know, because we will based on the like the server side the response to render, okay, or like static side generation as a G or code speeding, we need to remember like breakdown, don't do it in the one page, even though it's a single page application, we are not putting anything in one single page. And then also we setting checking the error boundaries, okay, so this we're going to do, but this one more advanced later. If we do have like extra time, we can cover it. And hopefully this part you are able to do that, and then just like you try to change all your previous apps and then try to combine all them together, become a small project, and then add those like routering, stage management, and using the use effect like those like component, okay, the hooks, okay, at least you can able to build a really basic simple React project, okay, from there. And for the next lab, then we're going to move on to talk about how to implement an API server. Okay, then how can we grab the data from the server side, and then we will connect to our database. So later you need to able be ready, like we will connect to the MongoDB. Okay, but I will bring that. So hopefully by the mid of semester, we will cover all those necessary components. Okay, so why not you will feel like hopefully if you feeling I didn't learn that much, or like in exploring like stage, yes, kind of like I giving you some like really general picture in this moment. Okay, and but most important is that in practical, like you try to build it and then try to look at some like online resources and try to, I don't mind that you copy certain component, put it on your page, and then you see, observe the result. So I think it would be better. We are online, we have so many resources. Even I like copy of them and show you. If you didn't use them, actually you don't know their behavior. Okay, so this is more important. Like you try to search it and use it. Okay, if you have some idea, you can let me know, or like if you have some difficulty, then I can help you. And that's it for this part for the first lab, and I hope you can enjoy the first I say kind of first part of building the React, and then next step we'll move on to the Happy.js, and I'll tell you like what's the necessary modules we need to install. Okay, and give some sample code. Thank you.